Aloha, I'm Naomi Hazelton, founder and publisher of Pacific Edge Magazine, celebrating 16 years in business this year. We welcome you to PEM Talk. PEM Talk is built on our founding pillars of passion, experience, and motivation. As many of you know, event planning has been one of the most challenging careers over this past year. And we'd love for you to hear how the women leaders within this event sector, who will be speaking shortly, have pivoted and created virtual value, while at the same time maintaining a networking presence and creating new strategies. We are excited to introduce you to these amazing women and dedicated leaders. They are all such great visionaries. Today we have Monica Bells, the lead cohort at Stanford University Graduate School of Business and President and CEO of Kauai Government Employees Federal Credit Union. Also, Amanda Douglas. She is the Director of Catering and Conference Services Coordinator, and she's also with the Four Seasons Oahu at Ko'olina. And Nina Nakahiki, Executive Vice President and Partner at Elite Parking and Elite Marketplace. Also, we have a few giveaways today. Two $200 gift certificates towards a Mother's Day pop-up menu, which will be delivered by Elite Parking, and it's in conjunction with Elite Marketplace, with offerings from Highs and DK's Steakhouse, as well as flowers. Also, thanks to Four Seasons Ko'olina as another recipient. Within this panel, we'll also be receiving a 50-minute massage outdoors at Hawai'i Resort. We will pick the winners randomly at the end of this webinar. Please kindly note that questions and answers are available at the end of the presentations, so please have them ready for the chat box and enjoy. And now I'd like to introduce Nina.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you for letting me be here to share our story. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully you're starting to see that. Okay, great. So, in my background, which is also the starting screen here, you'll see our team. This is our leadership team. And, our whole mission is to be one team making a difference. I also have listed really the different business organizations that we work with, that we're present at, just to share really the community that we have and that we're a part of. We are working together with our healthcare facilities, our hospitals, commercial accounts. We're at the businesses and the forefront of our hotels and our hospitality division, as well as within the restaurants and retails and shops and some other sectors. So I just wanted to have the team with me. So this is my way. So I'll dive right in. So, when COVID hit, it really wasn't an option for us to pivot. It needed to be done. At the time, we had over 80 locations, over 800 employees, and we really do see our family members as part of our employees, that we actually have this community that we have to take care of, and we have to look to really connect, especially during a time like this. You all hear the comment about, we're in this together, we're going to get through this together. And that is what we needed to do. And we needed to put that at the forefront of what we were going through. And so this network system that you see here, that was our tool. I mean, we put that together to really see how can we make a difference and really be a part of the solution of what was happening a year ago. And there's a couple of things that immediately stood out. At the time, we didn't have homes on this mapping. We were not delivering to private homes. Well, at the same time, there was a need, right? And the vulnerable group or the vulnerable community was the seniors, our kupunas. And so one of our business partners, St. Francis, reached out to us. We had many discussions. You may be familiar with the Show Aloha Challenge. Well, we decided that we would be a part of that back end. So almost, it felt like it was overnight that our valets turned into drivers, delivery drivers. And we were the back end support to making sure that the restaurants, the meals got out to our kupunas, whether they were at the senior living sites or their homes, private homes, to make sure to keep them safe and enable them not to have to go out. And so at a peak's point, we were delivering over 1,000 lunches a day. We even delivered dinners at a certain time. And so that program went all the way through to February this year. So that was an amazing shift that happened within 30 days after the announcement of the homestay. And then as we move to the hotels and the healthcare, because we're present at both, you'll see that dotted line there. I mean, we could be the bridge, right? We saw ourselves as we were still essential. We were on the road, we had a big workforce, and we had our shuttles, we had our transport, we knew we had our delivery component. So let us be the one to help put the protocols in place, keep the frontline heroes as much as possible, as safe as possible, to be able to come and stay, and with our hotel partners to work together to make sure it was always safe when they came into the properties that we were at and left. As we move into the technology, as you all know, everyone needed to look at ways to pivot, to look for that contactless solution that enables us to really create the safe environment, because that's a priority. It still is today. So we were already working on our VIP app, and that we're really proud of it. We were able to launch it as a soft launch at the end of 2020. And so that is available. It's on the App Store. It really allows for a ticketless, contactless parking solution when you go in and out of any of our sites. As we look at the COVID climate, we see this all as events, because COVID in itself was a big event that happened that changed the climate instantly. And so what we also created was we needed to create a solution that allowed for an online ordering. So we created these pop-up marketplaces. And these pop-up menus was part of our marketplace that was being worked on. For the permanent marketplace, took time to develop, right? So we knew we were going to simultaneously create a permanent marketplace that was going to come out, and it's soon to come out. However, in the meantime, we needed a solution for the quarantine guests, for the visitors. We also wanted to find a solution to create a little celebration, which were the Valentine's Day, in this case, was a Valentine's menu. And then lastly, our nonprofits. Our nonprofits needed the support or help, or just a way to engage in a event type of experience from a virtual perspective, to allow for meals or awards or gifts to be sent and delivered out to the recipients or those that are participating. So these are some examples of the pop-up menus that we created along the way. The first being for the quarantine guests or the visitors. They're able to scan a QR code from their room. It pops up on their device. They're able to choose the menu options, whether it's essential items that were from the ABC stores around the property, or some meals that were from the restaurants. We have our Valentine's Day example that we did roll out to kind of give a celebration. You know, you still have celebrations and holidays going on throughout this time. How can we make it so that that experience does still be special? And then this one, which we worked with Toby, which I believe Toby was on one of the PEM Talks prior. We worked with him on the UH Scheidler, which was our largest event. And that was just amazing. We had many amazing restaurants involved, and that actually rolled out again. I mean, over 1,000, I think, participants ended up there working together with us on the delivery of the meals. And so the marketplace is soon to come. We hope to share more about that, but I'm going to move us into more specifically the events, which is why we're here today. So I'm really fortunate to sit on the board for Special Olympics of Hawaii. And so I just want to share with you my experience. So as chair to this event is usually held every year. It's a gala event that's held at the Les Murakami Stadium. It's a venue that holds 300 max. And so every year, it's in May. And we were scheduled for May of 2020. The end of March hit, and we needed to pivot. We didn't want to cancel the event. We didn't want to postpone the event. We had all the sponsors. We had all the silent auction items. Everything was set to go. And so what we did was we worked together with restaurants, Roy's, Alan Wong's, Fish Hook, Pai Honolulu. We worked together to create really great menus. And then we engaged with those that were committed on the name list as participating, whether it was a sponsor or they purchased a dinner for two. We were able to create the experience and bring that experience to them at home by making sure that the deliveries were there and scheduled and in their homes by the time the program started. And so it was really amazing. I think what sets us apart, though, is that I'm sharing with you more technology. We like to make sure that everything is going well. So in this screen, it's not a very clear screen, but if you look closely, it's all the drivers that basically timestamps when they picked up the meal, when they actually delivered the meal. And from the customer or the recipient's perspective, it's no different than like an Uber experience. As soon as our driver picks up the meal, they introduce themselves as the driver. They let the recipient know that they're on their way with the meal. You can follow them along the map until they get to the home. And the recipient has the choice to have a contactless delivery or to have an in-person delivery. It's really up to them on their comfort. So last year, it was a success. We had 218 dinners delivered in an hour's time. We had a great program. This year, in fact, it's next week. It's very busy for us. We've already committed. We have 290 dinners scheduled for delivery for our virtual event next week. So we're really excited about that. And so just recap kind of the year, we've done about 191,000 deliveries since March of 2020, majority going to our senior community, which was the priority. We have, with the next being the virtual events, whether it's with schools, with nonprofits. We've also supported a lot of client gifting, employment engagement, which was really big, and then restaurant retail, as well as even pharmaceutical deliveries. So we have about a dozen large events scheduled, which right now large is 100 or more for 2020. Both are either, they're either looking at a combination like a hybrid or 100% virtual still. With deliveries being an option to the recipients, you know, the outreach really goes beyond the venue. So it really works favorable, especially if it's a fundraising event. The feedback that we've gotten throughout this year with these events have been that, you know, those that are participating, some of them really do love just being at home, but yet still being able to support either the cause or be a part of the celebration that's going on. So it's been really great and really interesting, you know, and to see and to be a part of that. And so we definitely have gained much momentum, and our deliveries continue to be a part of our service. And now more than ever, we're starting to get the calls on the valet service for graduations, for weddings. I know we're connecting with Four Seasons soon. So I am actually gonna pass the torch on to Amanda Douglas to share more with you. Aloha. Thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you, Nina. Wow, that's impressive. You are doing quite a bit, which is fantastic. And yes, we look forward to welcoming you back for the big events when they eventually come back. Okay, so well, welcome. Here, we'll pretend like we're all here on the ocean lawn and enjoying. To give you an idea of a little bit what we're doing, I'm going to share with you some of the stuff that we're doing here. So let me just started. Sorry for the delay. Okay, so I'm Amanda Douglas, Director of Catering Conference Services here at the property. We have a team that is now growing a bit more as well, which is very exciting to see. But we were closed for about a year, so you know, a lot of changes happened in the last year, and I'll walk through that and then some of the things that we're doing into the future. So a recap, I think a lot of this is probably all very self-explanatory to everyone, but just to kind of recap, one thing that was sort of unique, I think, for us, both here in Hawaii and maybe also the demand for the West Side and for Four Seasons, is that we were able to rebook about 80% of the business that both events from social and corporate incentive programs that really wanted to come to Hawaii still, or locally just still wanted to celebrate with us on the West Side. So they were able to find new dates. Some, unfortunately, with multiple changes, just couldn't adjust anymore, and that was understandable. And some pivoted and changed to either a smaller event or kind of changed a bit of what their original plans were, which is understandable. As I mentioned, we were closed for about a full year. So was a challenging time, but a great time too for the hotel to get everything set up so we were ready for when guests and employees came back. So we did some upgrades that I'll talk about in a later slide as well. And it was a good chance to just connect and create some creative ways during that time. So we'll talk about that a bit as well. We joke here, especially with weddings, that love prevails over everything else. You know, couples were resilient. They went through a lot, you know, and some of them, I felt so bad. They're putting their lives on hold and to really have this big moment with everyone and their friends and family. So, you know, it's great to see the resilience, and it's great to see couples understanding, and we all just work together. And, you know, as I say later on, flexibility really was key for everybody. And we tried to accommodate as much as possible because we know how hard that was for them. Continually, I think we're pivoting daily, weekly, monthly, you know, changes that are happening continually with the market, what's happening with, you know, just across not only local government, but what's happening across the US and then international as well. So really keeping on top of the updates, what's, you know, who can travel, who can't, who has restrictions, really is, you know, it's challenging, to be honest, but we're really trying to keep on top of it. And, you know, we rely also on our clients to help give us some information as well. So what locally is happening by their side too. And like I said, flexibility has definitely been key. One program that we launched out last year is a Lead with Care program. And this is a fantastic Four Seasons initiative. It's in collaboration with Johns Hopkins. And it really is the best safe practices that we can offer for both our employees and for our guests. It gives us a lot of confidence that the company has really thought through everything. So having this time of closure, it was great. I was able to go through a lot of the documents, and there was a lot of material that continues to come up. We actually have a new launch that just came out, which is great. It's some things that are lessening. As we've all learned with the virus, it's less you know, touch related. It's more about the air quality and what's happening with those breathing around you. So there's some changes that we'll continue to make, but I would say some areas may be a little strict with events, but we want to make sure that everyone stays safe. And I think for our guests and clients, they feel good about that, knowing that we're really thinking through every component and piece of it. So we do have a document that we send out to our clients. We also have a little link on our website, Safe at Colina, which is great. Anyone can go to that. You can get information on what's happening, how to get testing done, every other little update that might be for both traveling and also on property, what to expect with temperature checks and other requirements that we have. You know, and again, we balance what Four Seasons restrictions are and what's happening locally as well. I think what's good is Hawaii is very aligned with a lot of the Four Seasons I don't want to call them rules, but regulations, or maybe to keep everyone safe. You know, it's great that we're in an environment that we're still very strong on mask wearing. Can't say that for everywhere, of course, where there's a Four Seasons. So I'm sure they're obviously going through those challenges, but that does help that locally our Hawaii government feels very confident about that as well. And some of the things we did here at the property to just make sure that guests feel comfortable, employees feel comfortable, is the ownership team was great about expanding on our air filtration system. So there's a new fancy system we have called the Needle Point Bipolar Ionization Technology Upgrade. So this is something that's in our rooms, in our spa, pretty much anywhere that you would be indoors, which a lot of our property is outdoors, which we're grateful for. But it's just a air change that happens, and it's really effective against COVID and also other you know, particles that could be in the air, which I think a lot of confidence for everybody. And then Four Seasons has something called the FS App Chat, and it's a really great tool. We've had it for years, but I see it now even more so used. Guests feel more comfortable. You're sitting at the pool, instead of having to talk to someone, you can just put something through the app chat and it's delivered to you or brought to you or whatever the concern might be. I think this is key. You know, a lot of the ongoing generations also like this versus having to maybe interact always with somebody. And I think with COVID, this just adds another level of safety for everyone.
Hey, Amanda.
Yes.
So sorry to interrupt you. Great presentation. I just want to let you know, we just can't see your slides.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Gosh.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, thank you. Gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why. I apologize. Hang on one second. Let me
No worries.
Try sharing again. Gosh,
right.
I'm sorry to everyone. I'm rambling on and didn't even know.
You're a wealth of information and you're passionate. Oh, yes, thank you. Wonderful.
Okay, perfect. Well, luckily didn't miss too much, as mostly it was just talking points, which is good. Thank you, Naomi. So as far as some of the things we did where we pivoted during this time was we really wanted to reach out to our guests, both from an event standpoint, from hotel guests. We have a great following on our social media side from both the FS Oahu side and FS Oahu events. So what we created for the hotel is something called the Coconut Wire. And every Friday we would do a little educational session, whether it was learning how to make a Mai Tai with the Kohana rum team, or how to set up a room perfectly from our Four Seasons housekeeping team. I did a session on charcuteries and how to set up for an event. And then we pivoted with that and created something called the Guest List, a series that we're doing on FS Oahu events. And this is our Instagram page. We do this at 9 a.m. on Wednesdays. We were doing every other week. We've had to slightly change just due to demand. So we've been doing this about once a month, but it's a great opportunity to connect. If you want to learn more about events, even if you're not currently planning something, I think it's a really great source. All the videos stay there on the IG video side, and you can go back and reference them if you're interested in, like, oh, okay, they did a session on virtual hybrid events. What was that all about? We have one next week that we're gonna do with Reveal Hair and Makeup, just talk about all the things that go into that and planning for your wedding or event. So they're great tools, a great way to connect locally with our vendors, which I think is key to keep everyone going during the time in the last year, but also just to remind everyone how great we have amazing resources here on the islands. So it's been a great success, and let us know if you have any input on it. We'd love to do a new session on that as well in the future. Okay, what's next? Demand has been really high, which is great. We're seeing, about double the amount of calls and inquiries on a weekly basis than we did from 2019. So I think, there's a lot of excitement for Hawaii, even locally. I think for couples, it's exciting because it's a safe place, part of the US, which always makes things easier as well. It's just a really great space with a lot of outdoor areas. We've been very safe here in Hawaii. So I think all these things have really led to a higher demand. I think couples or clients that were maybe planning at other locations have now shifted and plan now Hawaii is a better option for them. So we're seeing it across from the social side to corporate incentive travel. It really runs the gamut there. I would say more short-term is smaller size, the under 100, under 50, into larger size into 2022. So it's good to see that clients are feeling much more confidence that the fall on, that they can do larger events, that things will start to get better. So I think that's a good indicator that gives us all a little hope too. And, international mix, our international guests, it's still kind of a mix. Some are returning and some are kind of waiting to see what's going to happen next, which is understandable with their own restrictions on travel with their country. And what's upcoming for us? So we are about at the end here of getting something together for an event, a rapid testing. We do have an option right now for our guests, both in Ko'olina and another company that can come on site to do rapid testing, and also for travel testing. That was great for inter-island use, which we all know is going to hopefully now not be as much needed. But both those options we're trying to mix into events, because we do have clients that are saying, I have some guests from Hawaii, I have some that are traveling in. It would just make everyone feel better if everyone's being tested on site. So we will have more about this coming out soon. And then also as a company, virtual and hybrid has always been a bit of a popular option for Hawaii, for weddings. Sometimes it's hard to get everyone here at the state, sometimes, for a corporate group as well. So this is just another extension that we're, continue to enhance on, so we have more options for our clients. Thank you all. And now I'll pass this on to Monica, who I'm excited to hear a little more about what she's doing on Kauai.
Hey, aloha. Thank you, Amanda. We were just talking earlier that we're going to have a mimosa with her after this in that background that she has. So I can't wait. I'll fly over just for that. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Monica. I am the CEO of Kauai Government Employees Federal Credit Union. And you might be thinking, why is a credit union / bank on an events discussion? And it's because, we all are networkers at heart, and events are really part of humanity. Joining together in a community setting in person is part of business development. It's part of community and relationship, and it's just a part of life, as we all discovered this past year. So I'm going to tell you a fun little story about how we turned a bank branch into an intimate event venue during COVID, and why we had to pivot as such. So fun little story. I'm going to share my screen so we can walk through this with some pictures, because we all love pictures. Here we go. So we are a CDFI credit union, which means we're a community development financial institution. And what that really means is that our mission is social at heart. So we are a social enterprise. We have a repeatable, scalable business model, but we are a not-for-profit, community-owned organization since the 1940s here on Kauai. We are owned by the people of Kauai. We are for the people of Kauai. All of our resources are pooled together so that we can grow the community of Kauai in a way that we believe is most sustainable and equitable and inclusive. So we had decided to embark on building a branch on the North Shore of Kauai long before COVID. And we really wanted to model with that branch our DNA as a credit union. A lot of people kind of lose the story of, what's the difference between a credit union and a bank, and what is a credit union? And we really felt that it would be cool to tell that story in a location, in a live location, in a retail location, where when you walked into our North Shore branch, you understood somehow just by being there, really what that not-for-profit community model is all about. So we decided to first and foremost take the 40-foot wall and bring in a local muralist to help tell our story in a mural format. And we thought there's no better way to do that than to bring in the children of that community to come help paint that 40-foot wall and that 40-foot story. So this is us pre-COVID, when we could hang out and have children here at the branch. And we have our muralist here, Maxine Longoria, who's from Kilauea town. And we brought in the Kilauea students and started talking story about art and paint and the history of Kauai, and especially on the North Shore, which is a scene that she was painting. We were so excited to have a big mural reveal event when we opened the branch. That was the big game plan. We were going to have a giant Chambers quarterly event, Chamber of Commerce quarterly event there for the opening weekend. We were going to cover the mural and have a big mural reveal. We were going to document it. We had these huge, grandiose plans. I'm sure you all can relate with these grandiose plans. And then boom, COVID hit. So it quickly changed everything. Not only did it change our ability to have this big grand opening party, but it happened right at a window where we were waiting on a team from the mainland to come in and connect all of the IT infrastructure so that we could actually open the branch and have a bank there. That team was supposed to land about a week after we closed down. So quickly, we had this amazing shell. I'll go to this next picture. So we're getting ready to announce it. We're all so excited. She's painting it. She's finishing it up. Actually, if you look here at the bench, kind of at her waist level, this is restored monkey pod from the North Shore, built and bent by some North Shore woods craftsmen. And so they did this customized with the mural, again, just to show that we are kind of reusing and recycling and pooling resources together from that community to use back for that community, telling that story. So we all of a sudden had this beautiful space, this beautiful branch. The cool part is you can't capture a 40-foot mural in one photo. So there's only one way to really see this puppy, and that's to come on over to Kauai and get a mural tour from us. So what we had the muralist do along with the keiki was to embed our story in this kind of life cycle of the North Shore of Kauai story. So we have the legacy of the North Shore community, and we have embedded in it some symbolism that tells our story as a credit union. And we also have embedded in it different eras of Kauai, including today's at that time, right? Pre-COVID. The wind blowing here represents Hurricane Iniki. The little bank bus represents when our credit union put the bank in a bus and went out to remote regions after Hurricane Iniki in order to help people have access to their services, to banking services, emergency funding services, and honestly, just sometimes food and water as well. Here we have, and as you enter, you see the nene birds. These represent our founding families. that founded the credit union back in 1947. And above you have the kapuna, and then below you have the handprints of the keiki, the next generation. So we have our legacy, our history, our birthing generation onto the next generation who will inherit the credit union, who will inherit basically our owned economy here on Kauai and move it forward. We have this little keiki center down here too. Here's some taro patches. This is true to the area. So this is actually a representation of the North Shore. And these patches down here, what's really cool is our business development officer, Chantal Zarba, she grew up pulling taro in this exact patch. And she tells us the story often how her friends would be driving by to go to the beach and she would just be covered in mud. To this day, she's never covered in mud. She's always very well kept, very well dressed. Her nails are fancy. So it's cool to hear her tell the story of her childhood, and why her work ethic is so strong today, why her passion is so much for the island of Kauai. And look back and see now in her profession today and her new, this new branch, she's looking at her history and her childhood and appreciating it and able to tell that story. So we had this amazing mural, we had this amazing branch, and we didn't have any ability to open it. As you know, it's an expensive asset as well. And so, we're going through the financials as everyone kind of did and saying, wow, how this is going to be interesting that we have this very expensive place and we can't use it for the community. So we thought, well, can we? We can't bank here. Can't do any banking services. This is a fun picture because some kids tried to come up and play with the ATM, but it didn't work because we couldn't connect anything until this mainland team could come over. There was basically blank screens throughout the whole branch. But nevertheless, they came by and we said, okay, can we take some pictures of you guys? Actually, one of those is my son. So we thought, hey, what if we use this place as a distribution center? Our team here at the credit union, we have a crew of really powerful lady leaders who are very passionate about the community, very well connected, and know the needs, understand the needs, and care so much they can rally the troops, they can rally their network, they can rally the community to help. And that's exactly what they did. So first and foremost, we use this as a food distribution hub. We bought meal kits from local vendors, from local farmers, from local actually beef manufacturers, and we put meal kits together to give out to the community and use this kind of branch as a hub to give those out. So here we're out on the front and we have some kids helping, we have our staff helping, and we are giving out these amazing meal kits from local businesses out to the community. So boom, bank branch turned into food distribution hub. That was really fun. And then we thought, we have these neighbors around us who have these restaurants and they are not selling very much. So some of the restaurants were hurting pretty bad. And this is one example. This was Kilauea Fish Market. Right about when COVID hit, their main source of fish was the husband who was part owner, who was a fisherman, and he hurt his back. He had an injury right at the same time, so he wasn't able to go fish. And so it was kind of a double whammy for them. So we thought, what if we bring them into the branch? We bring their food in. Let's take some pictures with this amazing backdrop. Bring in our connections in media. This is Dennis Fujimoto. I'm sure you folks know him from the Garden Island newspaper. And let's feature these businesses and let the public know that they're open. Let them know their new hours, and help grow some sales. And so this was one example of that. We also did these really cool, what we called Pau Hana with a Purpose. Again, this was from Chantal Zarba's brilliance. And the Pau Hanas with a Purpose started really small. This is actually a little bit larger one here, but we started, we said, you know what, we have this huge space. We absolutely want to honor safety and the rules of the community. And so when we were allowed to have some folks over, we would have sometimes 1 or 2 people over at a time into the branch to show them the mural, to talk story, and just to have people and connection happen. We all were getting isolated during that time and feeling quite lonely. Zoom fatigue was incredibly real. It still is. I think our Zoom resilience is up more than ever now. But I think we're ready to have some face-to-face. But this was our kind of answer to that is, in a socially distanced setting, what if we brought in 1 or 2 people at a time, pick one organization, a community stakeholder, a small business owner. Here in this picture, we have Dickie Chang from Valet. He's incredible. We have the owner of a small business next door, Kilauea Fish Market. We have Felicia Cowden, a council member on Kauai. And we have Chantal, and I think that might be Chucky Boy Chuck from Kauai Museum. So we bring in some folks and we talk story, we have poo-poos and we go through the mural story and we just find out a little bit more about them. Hey, how are you weathering this COVID storm? What are you hearing out there? What are the needs that you folks are seeing? What are some things we can immediately do? And what are some things we're going to need to plan for a little bit mid and long term? And it really kind of became this ground of solution breeding and innovation breeding and connection and information sharing and gathering. And it started to spark innovation. Doesn't that always happen, right? It started to spark, hey, how can the county council, what do we know from the county council that's happening over here? And hey, Dickie Chang, what are you hearing over here? And hey, small business owner, how can we really help you right now? And as you start to just talk story, as you know, you really can breed resilience in a community, and you really can solve for how do we grow resilience here? What are the areas that we need to focus on? So it was really special because what we discovered is that at these big events, we see lots of people, we network with lots of people, and we have very surface level conversations, but we remember to grab the card or send a follow-up and try to have coffee later, go to dinner later, have breakfast later. And what we found is, throughout the course of a year of those events, you might end up with a handful of people that you actually connected at a deeper level with, but we're all busy, especially pre-COVID. We're all so busy. Sometimes that doesn't happen at the level that you might want. What we found with these pauhanas is some of them would go really late into the night, believe it or not. It'd be a very small setting, small group of people. And I got to know people at a level I don't think I ever would have for maybe even a decade, going to these larger events and networking at the larger scale. I got to know people on such a powerful level. They are now my ohana. And I heard stories about the history of some of these folks that I would have never heard before, and in a different environment. And my respect and my love and my interest and my curiosity and my bond grew. And so I think that was a silver lining we found out through these more intimate events. And it was really powerful. So we just kept doing them. We kept inviting, 1 or 2 people at a time and bonding. This was a really cool story. We had common ground over, and this stemmed from a pauhana. So we had common ground over. They're a accelerator incubator program for food innovation, really focused on local entrepreneurs. And when COVID hit, their pivot was, let's put an accelerator program together for COVID response entrepreneurs. So anybody out in the community who has an idea of how to solve for some of these issues that we're seeing during COVID, come and apply for our accelerator, and you will get a 3-month course. We're going to figure out how to seed fund you, how to accelerate you, and support that business so that it can quickly grow, that social enterprise, so that it can quickly grow into something that's going to solve these immediate short, mid, and long-term challenges in our community. It was brilliant. We said, how can we be a part of that? How can we help? And so together we applied for some grants that were coming down through CARES funding and got them. And so we were able to find 10 local entrepreneurs on the island, put them into the Common Ground Incubator Accelerator program, and fund them to accelerate and to expand and to scale for our local market here, which was incredible. So this was the grant award that we had a picture of here from that pauhana. And then we thought, we're a very artsy team, lots of tattoos, lots of music, lots of culture. It's just our style. And obviously we have a 40-foot mural on our bank wall, and so it doesn't really feel like a bank. It's a lot more creative. And so we thought, hey, a lot of the local musicians are out of work. A lot of us miss live music. What if we put together some Facebook Lives and brought in one at a time the live music groups and let them perform in front of a beautiful mural and go live in our branch? We're going to need some amazing audio people. We're going to need some people to help make this happen. And boom, we had Lexi Jones there. She's a Kong radio host. She came in and hosted Facebook Lives in our branch several nights a week. And then we were able to use the Rice Street Business Association grant funding to pay these folks to come in and make music for the whole island. Once again, what came out of that? Beautiful music, beautiful relationship, a much more intimate setting than we're ever used to, where true bonds and true stories are able to flourish and create a more resilient and tighter community than pre-COVID. Here we have some live music at the Kilauea branch. Look at that backdrop. I just love it. Maxine did such a good job. We brought in some hula dancers. This is an amazing couple. And it was all over Insta, it was all over Facebook and social media. Here, we even embarked and said, hey, what if we go into some of these shops that are all closed down and not experiencing any business? So we went into Hanalei Strings and we set up there, and we brought the sound team in, a video crew in. Sorry, it's kind of blurry. I know this picture is super blurry. We have Eli Smart and Kirk Smart there just jamming all night for the island of Kauai. Super cool. So we turned the branch into an intimate hub for connection, for relationship, and for solution for our island. Really fun story. We love that our branch could be that. Today it works. It's an actual functioning bank branch, but it's also a place we invite everybody to come have a mural tour, come have a cup of coffee, come have a pauhana after hours. When we close the branch down, we turn it into, we have little rolly carts everywhere, and we turn it into a wine and poo-poo venue where we can talk story. Guess what? Fast forward a year. Remember those big plans at the whole beginning of this thing? The first ever in-person Chambers after hours post-COVID, okay, was finally allowed to happen recently. And lo and behold, where did they hold it? The Kilauea branch. So there we have Mark Perriello and Monica Bells high-fiving saying, yes, we're allowed to touch. We hand sanitize before and after that, don't worry. We did have masks on, but we were speaking on that picture. Check this out. We were able to go out on the patio, and we brought in a food truck, and we had an amazing get together there. We could only invite a certain amount of people. We practiced all the rules. We only brought a few in at a time to give the mural tour to indoors. But this was an amazing group of people. And honestly, every single person that showed up there, again, really close bond. I think that's what we're finding after this, is now that we are privileged to have in person, you know, with restrictions, when we do, we're just like, people, humans, connect, talk to me. I want to hear your story. You want to hear mine. Let's bond. You know, we have to do everything we can not to hug. I hugged Mark though. I hope they didn't get it on tape. So we're good. We had live music at the Chamber after hours. There's a mural behind you there. This is Chantal in the hat giving the mural tour to people. And it just turned out to be a really fun way to close out that whole story from the beginning. You know, let's have hundreds of people. We can't wait. And this big unveiling for the Chamber of Commerce, to at the very end, we get to be the first in-person live chamber event. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen and just say, these pivot stories are beautiful. I love hearing them. I would love to hear even more of them. Naomi, thank you for hosting this. Let's keep them coming, because we will be telling our grandkids and their grandkids and their grandkids about this wild year or two that we've had. Aloha.
Oh my gosh, Monica, I am so homesick. Can we do a Pacific Edge after hours there? Awesome. Thank you so much. That was filled with so much passion. Wow, I'm kind of speechless in the way that you really looked at the opportunity to create intimacy for people. And I think we all get that. Nina and Amanda, we've all done these huge 300, 400, 500 people events, and you can literally only maybe get to 10 people during that period of time. And even then you're interrupted. And that, you know, that brings me to, I guess, for all of you ladies, a bigger question. So here we are today, it's the 22nd of April. There's this word hybrid. And, you know, I look at it in very different ways. You know, people are saying, when are you gonna do another Pacific Edge event? And it's kind of just looking at what's happening. So where do you three see this hybrid morphing within the next couple of months and end of the year? And what does that hybrid look like to each of you independently? And I'll start with Nina.
Okay, yeah, no, great question, great question. And amazing stories, Monica, Amanda, thank you. It's really neat to hear. So with the hybrid, I really do believe that the hybrid experience allows for exactly how Monica is explaining what's missing in a large event experience. I mean, even for those that are hosting, it's the the ability to engage with every single participant, right? It can be challenging. So I do think that the hybrid allows for an intimate setting to be with those that, that you're, whether it's family or the close knit or the organization and the group. But then it also has the ability to expand to everyone that you want to be a part of. And that number could be unlimited, So how to create that outreach and how to still make it feel as an intimate experience is what the hybrid is probably going to evolve to, if not immediately create. So that I do think that is part of what is the innovation of a hybrid type of event.
And real quick, with your upcoming nonprofit event that you have this week,
Sure.
are they going to have, say, I'm just throwing this out there, maybe 25 people, socially distanced with round tops, and then will you be streaming that live? So what does that look like for you with regards to this huge nonprofit event?
So for us, we decided to keep it as a virtual 100% because, as you know, an event, these type of events take a lot of planning, 6 months prior to the actual event that occurs. So we didn't want to wait to see what was going to happen, if it was going to open up or not, but we definitely are in discussions to see how we can bring the live experience back and a hybrid. So once it's all clear, hopefully next year, the hybrid experience will come to life. This year, it's 100% virtual.
Thank you. And Amanda, you and I were talking briefly about social events that are happening at Four Seasons. Can you share with me a little bit about what those look like? Are they indoors and outdoors, both? And what parts of the facility are they using?
Yeah, great question. So most are here on the ocean lawn outdoors. So we've really, kind of adjusted how we use this space too. It's usually for much larger groups and weddings, but we've created some intimacy with it by kind of separating it out and creating little pockets where a couple wouldn't feel so lost in such a big space. So right now, everything is outside between this space, our Pahaka Point, our Lurleen lawn, Koalina lawn. We have a lot of outdoor space. Our restaurants, we've gotten creative with groups using it for Mina's Fish House during the day when we aren't open until, happy hour. From a hybrid standpoint, I think, we're seeing the demand. Obviously, people want to meet and be in person, whether it's an event or corporate. But I do see it continuing. There's always going to be a case with Hawaii that just because of travel, maybe either restrictions, of course, could still be the case with someone maybe internationally can't make it, or, maybe a grandparent, and this was even pre-COVID, just couldn't travel, right? There was maybe some medical reasons, whatever it is. So having that ability to have that ceremony or parts of it so that they can view is always been and will continue, I think, to be important. I hope it continues for corporate wise too, even locally. I maybe being here on the West Side, this is maybe a selfish thing, but I don't always get a chance to go to everything in town, just, with my schedule and whatnot. So I think having that option to still be able to hear in to something and tune into it would be great. Or even, maybe from another island, right? Or something that's happening on the mainland with a group that I know. It's great to still be connected with those. So I hope the hybrid still is an option, but I do see more in person as we continue, of course.
And so, for example, if Pacific Edge Magazine were to bring 50 women that we wanted to celebrate something, would you set everything up, start to finish, meaning 4 tops and socially distance and taking temperatures, as well as signing, certain forms and whatnot as it relates to COVID? So, are you soup to nuts?
Yeah, of course. So all of that, yes, we do temperature checks. You then get banded to make sure, you know, we've checked everybody. It gives all the attendees and the guests just feel much comfortable with that. We'll do a list to make sure we have contact tracing just in the case, you know. Luckily, we haven't had a need it yet so far, but it's just good to know. Again, the event testing will be something that'll be launched out soon. Already, we have some options, but even more seamless and easy for guests. So it just gives everyone a little more comfort because everyone's craving wanting to get together, but it just adds that extra level of like, okay, they're being very safe, you know, food rules and what's allowed with drinks as well. Things can't be passed, you know, we don't want random guests grabbing things from a tray. So we've just tailored how we can do these things. Still available, but just adjusted slightly. And honestly, it's worked out really well with the very small events we've had so far. And we'll continue to see that as we get into May with groups of 50 or 60 people. We'll start to see bigger numbers with that as well.
And really quick, are you able to serve, let's say you have oysters, you know, and they're individual, you know, can people still go up to I don't know what the term is, but, you know, an area and grab and go?
No. So in that case, what we do is we have a really lovely plexiglass shield, and outdoors, it's really nice because you can see through it. The sun comes through the ocean. So it really feels like it's not even there, which is great, but it protects both the guests and then the server or chef behind. And so the guests still can come up, see it, but they'll pick and choose, and then that server would plate it or a chef attendant and then give it to the guest. So we're still able to do what you would consider a buffet setup. It's more just what we call station setup at this time.
Thank you. All right, Monica, so what are you seeing as it relates to, you know, you're obviously a part of the Chamber of Commerce. I believe you're on the board. Mark's a great guy, so fun to work with. What are you seeing as it relates to the Chamber of Commerce Pauhanas? Where are they heading?
Sure. So I think we're all seeing in person slowly coming back. Mm-hmm. However, I think the biggest shift is that where we used to think that the number of guests communicated success, I think the shift now is really quality over quantity. And I think that's awesome. So there will be, you know, it will be a strict invite list. There will be some fairness that will need to go into it. What the chamber's done here, which is awesome, is to basically say first to register and pay. First come, first serve in that regard. So you know how people always drag their feet to fill out the final form, sign it, and do that. So now people are kind of rushing to get theirs in because after 20, for example, at that first chamber after hours, that was it. And for the hybrid focus, that chamber after hours, we didn't necessarily film or produce live digitally, but that is certainly an option now. I personally would tune in and have tuned in to the hybrid events where some people are there in person and some people are on the web platform. The chats are awesome to connect with people or reach out, you know, one-on-one. And so I think I've already been to probably 5 conferences that are now virtual. And I think what we're going to start moving into is a hybrid conference model as well. So some people will be there and some people will be tuning in from home. And so that's just the nature of it. But again, quality interaction, that intimate interaction, that true talking story will happen way more often and is happening way more often because there aren't as many people to be doing the, hi, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Hi, good to see you. Thanks for coming. And I think that's great for humanity and that's great for Hawaii and that's great for our industries.
Also, I'd like to open up questions and answers to the participants. So if you have any questions, please chat us in the Q&A box. So as we wait for those to come through, quick question. I predict we're going to have this roaring 20s, possibly, you know, experience and or energy possibly in the next couple of years. Are all of you 3, quote unquote, talking about getting back into the new normal? And are you projecting financially for those larger events? And certainly, when do you see those happening? We all talk about possibly 2022, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on you know, from each of you on that, and what your thoughts are when things just start booming. Nina, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so another great question. Definitely, you know, we see it as the new normal. Most definitely, we're ready for it. We're excited for it. Either way, it comes with large numbers, small settings. We definitely plan for it, and we now have the layout and the foundation to be able to deliver and perform the service that's needed. So we're really excited. We're just as curious to see what, what comes, and either way, we're going to be ready. So.
Thank you. Amanda, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's we have a lot of groups, both incentive groups. To be completely honest, we have a couple buyouts for this year still in the later part of the year. We have a couple local nonprofits that do large galas. So it's a lot of waiting right now to see what can and can't be done. The great thing is, we have a lot of space that's very open air, so that's going to help even as we do get to bigger numbers. Our Colina Ballroom completely, used to be a pavilion way back in the day. I'm sure everyone remembers it from that, but all the windows do open, doors, open. So it really is open air, which gives a lot of comfort, I think, for everybody. I think some things will automatically just change in our mindset for the short term. I think everyone will be a little more cautious. I think right now we're programmed like 6 feet from everybody. So even when you're lining up somewhere, everyone's got this in their head. So I do think that'll be for a little while, but the interest is there. I will say the new leads, the new ones coming in the calls are really for 2022 and on, that are really for the bigger size. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interest still. We do have actually one buyout that's going to contract for November. So again, if we have to split the group up, we can do that because we do have the luxury of a lot of space here with us. And then our partnership with Lani Kahonoa gives us a lot of flexibility as well. So good there.
Exciting. Thank you. It's good to hear you have some buyouts. All right, Monica, final thoughts on projections for larger events and what that looks like on Kauai and or throughout the state of Hawaii, given, you see a lot of different numbers and figures and projections.
Yeah, I think if there's one thing we know for sure, it's that we have no idea what's to come. So there's a projection for best case scenario, worst case scenario, and they all have very equal chances of coming to fruition. So plan ahead, pivot quickly. I think we all know how to pivot now. So I heard from, let's see, I had a national conference in early March, and one of the guest speakers was the former head of Food and Drug Administration. And the projection that he gave was very positive. It was expect travel to be as normal come summer due to the vaccination deployment. So we're already seeing it on Kauai. I imagine you folks are seeing a lot on Oahu as well, but we just reopened April 5th. So just between April 5th and today, it's a pretty dramatic. I can't really drive from the North Shore into Lihue anymore without a good, hour and a half window, because traffic is quite intense. So the tourists are returning. The summer bookings are coming. I'm hearing it left and right. Everyone's getting booked up for events, for weddings. That's huge. And so at the same time, Europe's in their third wave and countries are still shut down. So it's really hard to know what's to come, and let's just be ready for all of it. In the meantime, right now, we're deploying a tremendous amount of capital into the community, a tremendous amount of aid into the community. And as long as that continues to flow in, I think for the most part, people can leverage that in their pivot models. And that's what we hope for the community, is really at the end of this, that we've been able to weather it and we can reboot and come back in. So let's be ready for anything.
Thank you. And we have a few people that are participants that are in the event sector. This just came to my mind. Are there any, aside from PPP, aside from the CARES Act, are there any specific grants and or loans for the event sector space that you're aware of? I saw something come up, I believe through the SBA, and it was for, a lot of those large individuals that have huge concerts here, and or, in the state of Hawaii, or theater. However, my understanding on that was that if you had received the PPP, you couldn't apply for it. So anything on the radar just specifically for the event space besides that specific grant that you're aware of?
Yes, I would say the American Rescue Plan has an event venue. It also has a restaurant grant. So I would say everyone should be tapping into those resources. Senator Schatz, I think, has the best resource page for that. So if you guys can go to Senator Schatz's website and tap into the information, it's very well articulated, and you can always reach out and ask questions. But SBA has several programs right now. In terms of qualification, it can get complicated and specific. We help businesses every day and walk them through and navigate this stuff. So I would say, don't assume no, just go for it. Learn as much as you can. Reach out to the SBA and get advice on a case-by-case basis.
Wonderful information. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nina. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Buddy, on the back end of this. And let's give away some prizes. We will randomly choose. We have 3 prizes to give away. So we have a massage outdoors, and I'm randomly going to choose Taylor Ann W. So Taylor Ann W. We'll get in touch with. We'll connect you and Amanda. And we'll get your spa gift certificate out to you shortly. Congratulations. And then the giveaway from Nina Nakahiki and Elite Marketplace, valued at, I believe, is it $200 each, Nina? That's huge. Thank you. Wow, I'm getting hungry just thinking about Highs and possibly Basalt and whoever else you're partnering with. So those 2 individuals will be JC. I'm not sure of JC's last name, but we do have her email on file, so we'll connect you. And then also Gabrielle Richter, or I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, but Gabrielle as well. So we'll connect you with Gabrielle. All right, well, mahalo nui loa. Thank you to my team of amazing ladies, and may you all have a wonderful week ahead, and God bless, and aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha.